chance, goal, brilliant. Just fantastic by Nicola Varela. And he does it, and Italy are champions of Europe. Forza Italia.
Ciao ragazzi, and welcome to another edition of Serie Sitdown, World Football Index's podcast of Calcio told like it is. And this is also where you get your Calcio to go. I'm just throwing in all of the catchphrases that I've said over the last at the highest level. I don't know. I'm losing my lines all of a sudden. I'm Frank. It just kind of tells you what kind of day it's been for me, sporting wise. I'm Frank Ravello. He's Richard Carmen. Ciao, Richard.
Ciao, Frank. How are you doing on this Who Won Calcio Twitter Sunday?
Let's I was so depressed with how things went sports wise for me today that I made steaks for dinner. I'm gonna get something nice out of this day.
and for all those, please stop the rumors right here. You're not wearing a Juventus hat, are you? It kind of looks
no. This is an old golf hat. I can prove it. It's Adidas. It's
okay.
Adi Zero. So yeah, it is not a Juve hat. Nope,
Okay,
I am not.
Checking.
No. Why would I want to change to that? I know I'm an old school guy, but not when it comes to football tactics. Okay, so no, I have not jumped ship, but good. But nonetheless, this could have been a Spezia hat. Why's it got to be Juve or Udinese?
I'm just saying, there's precedent. I'm just saying.
Okay, all right. All right. How was your Thanksgiving?
Good. 4 days off, much needed 4 days off. It was very relaxing. Got to definitely take some time and enjoy. Did some house hunting and stuff. But yeah, it was good. How about you?
Not too bad. Yeah, had family come through. We hosted, and that all went fine. And tried to watch as much Calcio and American football as I could all weekend long, and tried to keep the kids from killing each other, as they tend to do sometimes when they get these long breaks from school and they don't get a lot of time to play with their friends and and whatnot. So so I had our hands full with all of that. You go right from, this is also the weekend when we go right from Thanksgiving to Christmas. The trees go up, the decorations outside go up, all that.
Yep.
All that jazz.
That happened for sure.
So that's that is that. So yeah, it was all right. It was an overall good weekend. Another good weekend for Calcio.
It was a rainy weekend.
Yeah, rain across the peninsula.
Yeah.
We had we had 10, 13, 17, 18, 20, 22 goals. So a little bit dry on the goal front, but we've got some. We definitely have a no shortage of goals of the week to pick from, and we get to that segment. Some really good ones there. So, and I think we're going to start with a game that was chock full of them, Richard. By the way, before we get into everything else, we will break down everything that went on match week 14, and we'll talk. We'll touch a little bit on the midweek action coming up, and we'll finish with the world's most popular hashtag game, Who Won Calcio Twitter. So that is it. So let's get back to those goals, because I think we're going to start with a game, Richard, where there are 3 goals that could be that could be in our top 5. We'll have to unveil that after all of the games, but it is Napoli and Lazio at the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona, a big commemoration from Napoli, commemorating the 1 year 1 year since Diego Maradona passed away. They had the Diego Maradona jerseys. And boy, what a game to pay tribute. But let's get to the lineups. Ospina was in goal. It was a back 4 of Di Lorenzo, Rahmani, Koulibaly, and Mario Rui. Midfield 3, Zielinski and Ruiz flanked Lobotka. Lobotka gets a run out this time. And then Dries Mertens flanked by Lorenzo Insigne and Herving Lozano. Dries Mertens back in our life in the false 9. We loved watching this under Sarri's Napoli a few years ago. Just your thoughts on the team that Spalletti picked.
Yeah, I think the big question, obviously, with Osimhen out injured, was how is the lineup gonna look without him in there? We kind of figured that Mertens would jump in there as a false nine. Really, the question for me is, would have been Lozano, would have been Politano starting on the right. Lozano's been the one who's been majority of the starts. So obviously with the lineup that came out, it was fairly straight up for me. I'm happy to see Insigne didn't start as a false nine, because I think Mertens plays that very well. He's done it in the past under Sarri, and so yeah, it was pretty straight up lineup, and I'm glad to see Lobotka get the run out in this one. I mean, Napoli have so many talented midfielders. You have to rotate them because there's so many good ones that need to get out there.
Yep, for sure. Chris DeSantis is in the house, man. Chris, how you doing? I don't think is this might be the first time we have a Who Won Calcio Twitter defending champion in the chat.
He wants to see if anyone's worthy enough to take his crown, I guess.
That we might need to do that if they come into the chat, that they have the opportunity to help us out with picking a winner, for the following week, as long as it's, if it wasn't themselves, so that might not be a bad idea. So Chris, hang in there with us tonight, man. When we get towards the end here at Who Won Calcio Twitter, we might seek your input for who you think should win this week, because we have quite a few nominees. But get back to this.
Someone check on Jerry.
Someone check on Jerry. Yeah, I didn't check. I think I tweeted. I said the champ is here. He's just going to eat this up, isn't he? No. Now I've lost my whole train of thought. Yeah, I did at least tweet out this afternoon. I said that at least I don't support Lazio, so it can't be all that bad. So Lazio, it was Pepe Reina in goal. They went with a 4-3-3. Patrick, Luis Felipe, Acerbi, Husai. I'll get your take on that selection, but right off the bat, there's all kinds of trouble with that starting back four. Cataldi, flanked by Luis Alberto and Sergei. Ciro Immobile back, flanked by Felipe Anderson and Pedro. But man, that back four. That's a whole lot of dudes in cement boots, isn't it?
It is. I mean, and Luis Felipe has been playing decent of the four. But yeah, it was always going to be interesting to see who Lazio were going to put out there in defense, because we knew that Napoli, as someone mentioned in the chat, we're going to try to honor Diego Maradona and try to get lots of goals. And so, whoever's going to be back there is going to be in there for run for the money. So these are the four guys that were voluntold that they had to play in this one.
I mean, but Patrick as a fullback, I can't get with that. What is it? I mean, we're going to be talking about this. This is going to be a theme as we go on to this episode. Managers playing people out of position and trying to make it work.
And honestly, I think Patrick is probably better than Husai. Husai is more natural fullback, but Patrick has some moments in him. He's not probably the greatest defensively, contribute offensively and stuff. But yeah, it's interesting from Lazio. But maybe their hands are tied by who they have, and with the European game from the midweek previously, that maybe some guys retired. So you see lots of rotations from the teams that competed in Europe last week.
Yeah. But moving on now, I mean, the goals started pretty quick. 7th minute, nice little cutting run off the ball by Dries Mertens. They tried to feed him in. Everybody from Lazio chased Mertens on that, and the ball just caroms back, and it's right there for Piotr Zielinski to finish in the 7th minute. I mean, this was a microcosm of Lazio's defending throughout the entire game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was what a thumper was for Zielinski getting that rebound there. It was 6s and 7s back there in defense, and really nobody picking up anybody and having a free runner like Zielinski did. If you got in the way with that, good luck to you, because you're going to be hurting, and no one did get in the way of that, not even the goalie. So, it summed up the game in that one goal right there. Guys falling over the place and goals going back in the net.
Yep. And just 3 minutes later, Napoli's going to double their lead. Lorenzo Insigne to Dries Mertens. This is a goal of the week candidate. Dries Mertens absolutely toyed with this Lazio back four en route to finishing this and putting Napoli in front 2-0. What does he do in Serie A? He scores goals in Serie A, and he scores goals from play him. I mean, I know you spent a lot of money on Osimhen, but Dries Mertens came out here and reminded us all he's still got a little magic left.
Yeah, well, I mean, what Twinkle Toes over there dancing around people. That was just a beautiful goal by Dries Mertens, and showing everyone that he still has it. Obviously, he has more than one goal in this game, but yeah, that's what you love to see. And you just wish that he would get more run out there. Obviously, Osimhen is your main guy, and that's when he's not there, Patine is a straight up swap. But you got a couple other guys that you can swap out, right? Just because Lorenzo Insigne is your captain doesn't mean you have to keep him out there the whole time. You're going to keep him fresh, keep them all fresh. So that it's a long season. The fresher these guys are, the longer they're going to be able to play at the top of their game. And so, managers have to put that into their mind sometimes. And it's some managers like to run their guys ragged. Sadi is one of the guys. But yeah, good for Mertens. I'm happy for him.
And he would double his tally and make it 3-0 in the 29th minute. The Lazio defenders this time just decided we want nothing to do with him. We'll just leave him at the top of the box. And they didn't want to get embarrassed again. So this time Lozano plays him, and then Dries Mertens first time, another goal of the week candidate. 3-0 to Napoli. Dries Mertens, clearly the best player on the pitch with what he did with and without the ball in this role. And 3-0 at halftime for Napoli. I mean, there was a decent chance by Luis Alberto, a volley that Ospina made a wonderful save on. But that's the extent of what you got from Lazio throughout this first half. It just, I mean, all you needed to do is look at the lineup that Sarri put out, and in front, the midfield three and the front three, fine, okay, but you put it in a back four that was just begging to be put under pressure the entire match.
Yeah, and kind of left Pepe Reina out to dry, right? It was always going to be a difficult game for them, and the tactics that we wanted to see from Lazio at least were attack Napoli, because if you try to sit back and give them possession, they love that, and they're gonna find ways to score. They're just that good, with their passing ability. So you need to attack Napoli. We see some teams do that and been successful against them. So I was hoping to see Napoli do that, or Lazio, excuse me, and they weren't doing that, and really they gave far too much space for Napoli. As you mentioned, Dries Mertens getting open a couple times, just getting free willy to take a shots from wherever he wanted. Guys running, here and there. It's really Lazio had no answers for them, and I think they were almost shell shocked. Obviously, the first goal that happened it was a fantastic goal by Zielinski, and then Mertens follows up, and I think they were just shell shocked. And just a couple teams in this league. I guess you could throw Inter in there as well, but Atalanta and Napoli, they tend to have these big first halves, and occasionally, like I said, Inter do. And this is a half that they had it, and it was in the big game. So, all credit goes to Spalletti for getting his guys ready. I mean, obviously, they were jacked up for this game with Diego Maradona and the honoring with the statue and all that. But still, that's not an excuse for Lazio to give up 3 goals in the first half.
No, not at all. And then the second half, I mean, if you think it was calamitous in the first half, in the second half, if you thought Lazio didn't have the ball in the second half, or you could say, I could have sworn Lazio didn't have the ball in the second half. They didn't. Okay. Let's be nice. They had it 35% of the time, and that probably includes all the dead ball stuff, like taking goal kicks and throw-ins and all that other stuff. But
substitutions,
substitutions. I think that's all just so we can be generous. Put into that 35% because my God, not even a single shot. Ivan, I'll answer for you how Reina is doing at 39. I think he'd like to be doing what other 39-year-old footballers usually do on the weekend.
Podcasts?
Podcasts or studio analysis or anywhere but sitting in Lazio's goal. That's how Reina was doing.
Yeah.
And I really can't blame Reina for anything, in this game. You really can't. The guys in front of him were just that terrible. I mean, literally 35% possession in the second half, not a single shot. All right. And my gosh, Napoli could have won 7 or 8-0. But they made it 4-0, and it's yet another goal of the week candidate. Fabian Ruiz, left-footed curler in the 85th minute, iced this to make it 4-0 to Napoli, an emphatic win. Definitely a needed bounce back.
Yeah.
After a couple of fronts, losing at Inter last week, but then going out and losing midweek at Spartak Moscow in the Europa League. to get this kind of win and get this kind of performance back under their belt. Bravo Napoli. They were super today. They deserve all the plaudits that you could possibly afford to them for their performance today.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great bounce back win for them. And as a game, they were going to be favorites in no matter what, but you expected it to be a lot closer game. And the extra motivation they had, it set them over the bar. They got those 3 goals early in the first half, and really the second half they smelled blood and they wanted to add on to it. They did get that 4th goal, like you said, through Fabian. But yeah, they played very well. Again, it's a big game for them because the losses to Inter and then Spartak, bad losses for them, and they needed to have an answer. Not everyone who had a loss followed up with a win, and so Napoli, good on them. It shows that they have some mettle in them, and that they can be easily pushed over. And so, good reaction I wanted to see, especially also Osimhen's out too. You're not sure. Granted, this is a team that can score goals everywhere, but when you lose your striker like that again, it happened last year. You never know how it's going to affect the team. And, Mertens steps up, other guys step up, score goals. And, Napoli continuing to send the pace in Serie A, which is good because Inter are hot on their heels for sure.
Yep, I agree. Can't find a single player that struggled in this Napoli lineup today. And I think it was just helped by what Lazio put out there, especially in defense, as we, hate to be repetitious about it, but that's what it was. Now for opponents coming up for Napoli, okay, can they look at this like a Sassuolo coming up at home again? And Sassuolo, as we're going to talk about later, Sassuolo have been a pain in the ass to these top teams this season. They've beaten Juventus, they've beaten Milan. They host Napoli next. And, they narrowly lost to Inter and to Atalanta, and to Roma by all 1-goal defeats. They got goals on them.
Yeah.
Let's look ahead when these two teams play each other, because I think that this becomes an intriguing game. All right, so we got, Napoli cruise past Lazio. It's 90 minutes with Mertens in the false nine, he got subbed out, but however long he played. Is there a part of you that looks at Sassuolo and as Sassuolo looks at their run of games and say, hey, they've been competitive. They've pulled a couple wins over the so-called Seven Sisters. They've been close in other games despite not coming away with any points. Does a manager like Dionisi now look at this and say, okay, I've got 90 minutes of sample of how they're going to play without Osimhen, okay? And if Mertens starts in that false nine, do you see Sassuolo having the ability to say, we've got the sample now, here's how we're going to line up and here's how we're going to set up against them, and maybe, curbing some of this momentum?
Yeah, if anyone can do it, it's Sassuolo, right? They have the players to do it. They've not only just a sample size from this one game, but you look any of the games in the past when Dries Mertens plays as the false nine. Yes, it's a different manager, but the lot of the core of what this team does is just what has been ingrained in them for the last 5 years or whatever. And Spalletti just adds different nuances to make them that much better. But yeah, they can certainly draw from this past game today and try to find ways to, one, exploit any weaknesses that they may see in there, but possibly on the flanks, possibly with the second center back. And using your height advantage, right? Scamacca is a big guy, 6'5", and there's not many big guys on that team other than the 2 central defenders, really, and then Fabian. So, yeah, I think Sassuolo are absolutely a team that can knock off Napoli. And Napoli, if they're smart, they'll watch this game against Milan and see that this team is for real, or watch the game against Juventus. And even the game against Inter, Sassuolo is a team to be reckoned with, and they like to knock off the big teams, and they're more than capable. They have the players to do it, right? So, and Scamacca seems to be on form right now, or at least he was in this last game. So, Napoli better be aware, and I think seeing the result today from Milan, they're going to be on their game because, had the scoreline been different, maybe they would have taken a little easy. Could have been a trap game. But I think Napoli will be ready for them, and I think Sassuolo is gonna give their all. It's gonna be a good game. I hope it'll be closer than a 4-0 game like we saw with Napoli Lazio.
I think it will be, and I think that I think that Dionisi has proven to be somewhat astute, but at the same time, I think in the wins, he's got a Juve team that's playing a really stale, style. Actually, the first half when they beat Juve, I think they absorbed what Juve did coming forward, but then they were able to counter and they were able to get some goals. I think they can take some strength from doing that and doing that against Napoli. I think when we talk about the Milan game, I think that I'm going to make the argument that, Milan beat themselves, but you have to be a good team to take advantage of a team that's beaten themselves. Which Sassuolo did. So we'll talk about that one shortly. So Sassuolo can do it, and then Atalanta goes to the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona on Saturday. So
that'll be fun.
A couple of huge tests that let's further identify Napoli's credentials, because we talked about this. They're top of the table now, thanks to their win and thanks to results going their way across the board. But that schedule, it's getting tough. It's going to be a squeeze here over the next few weeks. Let's see if they're still in first, once we get past Christmas. I only do this because I do want to play a little bit devil's advocate. I do want to say, bravo Napoli, they were outstanding.
Absolutely.
But I'm trying to put the bigger picture on this, as I would with any team, as I would even with Milan.
Yeah.
So it's a great win.
Emphatic win.
Yeah, very emphatic win. One that they needed to have. Lazio now, is it troubling that, 1 point against the Seven Sisters? They've got the one win over Inter so far this season. They did beat Roma in the derby 3-2, but 5 point. They've played all 6 of the other Seven Sisters and only have 5 points out of it. If you're trying to qualify for Europe, you got to make the assumption that that's not going to get it done, because you're in there fighting with 6 other teams, and you're all going to probably beat all of the teams below you to a reasonable extent. But Lazio's form, I think, against the top teams that they're trying to fight out for European places is really troubling. And I think it's, as we've discussed, it's a product of continuing to get acclimated to Maurizio Sarri's tactics.
Yeah, and didn't they lose to 3 of those games by blowouts? I feel like at least by 3-0. So yeah,
Milan, they lost 2-0. They lost 2-0 to Juve.
Atalanta? They lost big, I thought, didn't they?
Atalanta, they drew 2-2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm thinking about last year then.
And then they beat Inter, and then they beat Roma in the derby.
Not as bad as I thought.
Yep.
But these are games that why at least I was harping on how that Lazio aren't quite top 4 ready, because they're going to have it's going to take time to get used to Sarri, and there's going to be these blips in the radar that you're like, what the hell is this? This is not the product I'm expecting. And granted, Napoli, they're motivated, they played fantastic. But when we see a Sarri team and we see this Lazio team with the players that they have, you expect them to be very competitive in a lot of these games, especially against the Seven Sisters. And like you mentioned, if you really want to test your mettle and make the European places, you're going to have to perform against these teams. You're all basically canceling each other out with the lower teams. You have to, go head to head with these other teams and prove your mettle. And it's going to take some time for Lazio up to speed to the way Sarri wants. I'm glad to see Luis Alberto's out there. They kind of mended their relationship. He's playing a lot more, but still, the product on the pitch is not quite there yet. And the same thing you're seeing with their cousins of Rome there, Roma. So yeah, it's a little worrisome, but nothing that I wasn't expecting. I thought there were going to be some hiccups along the road. The question is, can they just stay in the fight as long as they can until they get at that level that Sarri wants? Because we saw even when he was at Juventus, it took a long time for that team to find some kind of resemblance of what he kind of wants to see on the pitch. So
sure,
we'll see.
Sure. It's still a work in progress over there at Lazio. It's one that's probably, if they're willing to be patient and give Sarri the time, this is something that's going to take them the whole season. This is not something that I think is going to, because you're talking about a change in tactics. Exactly. Inzaghi left Lazio and went to Inter and had the exact personnel that he needed to implement the way he wants to play. He didn't have to do a lot. Saudi's got to have some changes here, and players have to adapt. And there's some things that are changing. But I think if they learned anything, hopefully they don't play Patrick at fullback anymore. They need fullback. They're going to play 4-3-3. That is a position that they're desperately starving for. Lazzari can probably play in a full. I like him better as a wingback with the three-man defense behind him. But Husay's washed. I mean, he's washed, and he looked washed today.
Yeah, it'd be nice if Lazzari could learn to play some better defense to go along with his offensive attributes, because he would be a lock there, right wing or right back, and then find a complement on the left back to go along with Lazzari, and then you'd have a very strong team and get an upgrade from Reina. Not that Reina's playing bad this year, but there's moments where you're like, okay, he's 39 years old. You can tell it's not his Liverpool days, as Ivan's in the chat. Reina would stop anything back then, but a few upgrades here and there. I think for the rest of their team, they're fairly set. As long as they keep all the pieces, it should be a very good competitive team. If they want to take the next step, it's the fullbacks that they're going to have to upgrade, and the goalkeeper. So, okay.
Yeah, the goalkeeper too. You can't. Reina
and Cherby's getting older as well, and
there's gonna those are the positions that are going to have to revamp for Lazio.
Just a whole back line.
Yep. Troubling times ahead. Lotito probably should have cashed in on Sergei when he had the chance to, when the figures were being discussed. I mean, right now in this market, especially for teams like Lazio, that's a lot of money that you can go and get yourself 4 or 5 players and have a deeper squad. And sometimes, you talk about that. You hate to lose top quality players. But at some point the club has got to be bigger than the player, and
it's like the market in a way too.
And that's just it. And right now for me, Sergei's the only guy they've got that has any kind of market value like that, where they're going to be able to sell someone and shore up the squad with multiple players. I don't know if anybody wants Luis Alberto at this point, and I don't know what you're going to get for him. You're not going to get a king's ransom for him. Immobile is probably, he's getting towards the autumn of his career. He's been playing for a long time. Does he really want to try something new? And what are you going to really get for him?
I think he's best for Sarri's system too. I think he should stay there if he's smart.
Yeah, if he could continue, because as he grows into Sarri's system, he's going to be a better striker in in Mancini's 4-3-3 as well. So, but that would be the one. At some point you're going to have to move on from Sergei. You're going to have to cash in on him, because that's going to help you get the players that you need, in certain places. Because I think that Lazio are deficient in certain key positions, and it shows.
Yeah, and a few years ago, I heard rumors, and I don't know if the rumors are true or not, or just someone making this up. But I heard somewhere that Sergei Milinkovic-Savic was saying, hey, I'm ready to move on and try another level here. And if that's true, it's worrisome for Lazio, because several years ago he was rated 120 million euros, which is a king's ransom. And if you get half that now, I'd be surprised, honestly. Yeah. And so like you said, playing the market, sometimes it's bigger than the club, and if someone's going to offer you 120 million euros, take it. You can get 3-4 players, depending how you do, maybe more. And so we'll see. I know Lazio fans want to keep him there forever, and if that's where he stays, great. But if he ends up moving on, what kind of money are you going to get for him? Not what you want. Let's put it that way.
Nope, I agree. Boy, Serie has been doing a really good job with these match weeks, where they're giving us a couple of marquee games. I think it also speaks to the quality of the league, that there are teams getting better. Yeah, where we're getting a couple games a week. So we had Napoli Lazio today. Yesterday we had Juve Atalanta, which you're going to eloquently break down for us.
I don't know about eloquently, but I'll do my best.
There's nothing eloquent about this podcast,
or this game in particular. But Atalanta with their orange jerseys. I don't know if they're trying to emulate Barcelona or what. They already do the tiki-taka type play. But they came out with the orange jerseys, but they would be on the road in this one. Starting with the host, looking at the lineups. Juventus in goal, you got Wojciech Szczesny. They went with a back four of Juan Cuadrado, Leonardo Bonucci, Matthäus de Ligt, and Alexandro. They went with a midfield of Rabiot, Locatelli, McKennie. And then up top, you had Chiesa, Dybala, and Morata leading the way. Thoughts on the lineup? Any concerns on this when you first see this lineup? Obviously, Rabiot is coming out there, but it seems that Allegri really likes Rabiot and he's been starting him more and more lately.
I don't understand why Juve, and I get that, you want to, in a big game like this, you probably want to do some things out of habit, but there's no Danilo. There's no De Sciglio like it matters. And they didn't have Pellegrini wasn't available. Pellegrini, was he suspended, or this guy shows up and he plays a game last week and he looks actually halfway decent, and
it's got him off the street. He was on the bench.
And then was he on the bench?
Yeah.
No, I didn't see him. Oh yeah, there he was. Okay. But why not right now what they're doing isn't working. They're playing Rabiot in a wide position. They're trying, they seem like they're interchanging where it was Chiesa and Dybala behind Morata and all. Why not try three in the Allegri's done three in the back before. Why not play Bonucci and then play Chiellini in the middle and De Ligt to the left, and then have Juan Cuadrado be a wingback?
Yeah.
Have Alexandro be a wingback, and
clog that midfield.
If you're that dissatisfied with Rabiot, then that's a good way to get him out of there.
Maybe Allegri's not. Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah. And you can play a 3-4-2-1. You can play Dybala and Chiesa behind Morata if you want. You can have your three-man midfield of Locatelli, Rabiot, and McKennie, and you could have any two of the three with Chiesa, Morata, and Dybala. So it's under Allegri, he's getting very stubborn, and instead of him adapting to what's available to him, he's trying to put square pegs in round holes and trying to force the players to adapt to what he demands. And right now, when you're not getting the results, okay, you got to be willing to try something different. You got to be willing to try to freshen things up, because it's for, for a couple of reasons. Well, not just because you give yourself a chance to put these players in roles that they're comfortable playing, but two, right. I think freshening things up might inspire your players a little bit more too. Yeah. They see, hey, something new. Yeah, this works. I'd be very comfortable doing this, doing that. It feels like Allegri is just saying, this is what I'm jamming in, and this is what I'm force feeding to this team, and this is the way we're going to do it. And players are just going to have to try something different. Cuadrado needs to be a wingback or a winger. He needs to be. We've tried the fullback thing a few times with him. He can tend to be a liability at times. He's a better defender here at Juve than he's been anywhere else in his career because of who he plays with. Okay, but it's time to shuffle this. It's time to freshen things up and to continue to just try to force things and get people out of position and keep people out of their comfort level is really, really a detriment to a Juventus team that has enough quality to be a top four side. I don't think they're not winning the title this year. But if they're trying to get their way back into the top four, if they still want to be some kind of a threat in the Champions League, Allegri's going to have to learn to be flexible.
Yeah, and it seems like they're the only time. Well, not the only time. The time they're getting the most performances is in Champions League. Didn't happen this past weekend, a week before, but it's he needs to definitely be more flexible. He is trying to get players. I think he's playing some of these players like Rabiot and McKennie, hoping that their game turns around. I have seen improvement from McKennie. Juventini probably will fight me on that, but Allegri's being a little stubborn here. He needs to loosen up, I think, change the ways how he used to do it. Maybe go with the back three, like you mentioned, and clog that midfield. I like your idea about the 3-4-2-1 because we can really clog that midfield, play with the back five. Really, if you get a lot of pressure at teams like Atalanta, it'd be perfect for it. And so, yeah, he needs to figure it out. And I think he's just going to try to limp his way into the Christmas break and hopefully get some reinforcements come in the January window. But yeah, it's going to be tough. It's a tough league right now, and you got 7-8 teams who can arguably beat Juventus any week. So yeah, they got their hands full for sure. And looking over in the Atalanta side, Juan Musso in goal, obviously. They went with the back three of Toloi, Demirel, and Gimisti. Zappacosta on the midfield goes Zappacosta, Derun, Freuler, Meela, and Melanovsky. Pacina just behind Zapata. Fairly standard lineup. I mean, you talk about square pegs and round holes. Here it's round pegs and round holes for Gasparini. It doesn't matter who he puts out there; it's always going to work. It seems like. Thought on the lineups for this one. I mean, it's a fairly straight up lineup, but you can't go wrong no matter what you put in here.
Everybody here is comfortable with where Gasparini plays them. He's not having anybody play out of the ordinary. He'll usually hybrid some things. Once in a while, he'll drop Pasalic back into that midfield too. I mean, his best two-man center midfield partnership is the one he started, Didon and Freuler. At times, Koopmeiners can be a threat to this. But Koopmeiners might also be interesting in a more advanced position, too.
He can play anywhere.
Yeah, Koopmeiners can hybrid. Pasalic can hybrid. Pacina, He has done this with a couple of times when he's asked to play in one of those two central midfielder roles and not more advanced. It actually doesn't look great for Atalanta. It looks disastrous. So, yeah, no, he had guys in positions. He had guys in roles. He had them comfortable. And away we go. I mean, this is a lineup that, when you look at it, it's the Christmas tree formation, and why do we always call it? I mean, can we just call it a tree formation? I mean, we always seem to want to call it Chris. Maybe because we're just looking for something. We're trying to. I blame
Ancelotti.
Yeah, that could be it. But anyway, yeah. I mean, good lineup. I mean, it's what I thought would come out against this Juve team. I mean, or some variation of it, and they were ready to go.
And I agree with Anthony's point in the chat saying Demirel had a little bit of chip on his shoulder and wanted to prove something to Juventus, and I certainly think he did. This is certainly going to be a good game. We knew that Atalanta are going to be the attacking team and that Juventus were going to try to struggle with that, or so we thought. It was a very good game, I thought, from the beginning of the game. Juve had a couple shots early on, didn't put them away. I know McKennie was setting up some nice passes, really out of his norm with some of the passes. Looking over the top, I think he found Morata, or it was Dybala, I forget who it was, but in this league, when you play Atalanta, if you don't take your chances, it's going to come back to bite you. In the 28th minute, Duvan Zapata off seemingly a turnover, quick pass, one-time pass to him, goes on a break and a snipe of a shot, short side. Wonderful goal there by Duvan Zapata, Frank. Just a total breakdown by Juventus, turn it over, and it went to the wrong guy because he found Duvan Zapata with one touch.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of we're seeing pressing becoming a more successful tactic in this league. Happened a handful of times this weekend that led to, if it didn't lead to goals, it led to dangerous chances. So teams are doing a very good job of understanding where you can get people and where you can close things down. And Gasparini identified, and I think it was Rabiot who gave the ball away, in that particular moment. Yep. So, they're identifying, hey, here's where we can get them. Rabiot does a good job of these certain things, but maybe trying to play through the middle third of the field. Maybe this is where we can kind of close some things down, limit some things, and force them into a mistake. So, and that's what happened here. And Gimchiti right away played in Zapata early. I mean, it was clever on his part, and it was a great pass and great finish, and Atalanta goes up 1-0.
Yeah, a great way to start. And I think even as Anthony mentioned, Gasparini really was using the press in the game, and he knew that there's a midfield here with Juventus who get uncomfortable when the pressure's on them, and some of these other players as well. And so he made sure whenever they lost the ball that they did press, and it did cause turnovers. And that was a perfect example there. Rabiot turned it over and went right to Jamisti, and he had a great pass to Dufan Zapata. So yeah, 1-0 lead there.
Well, when you look at, sorry to interrupt. When you take, who scares you being able to play through the lines in midfield with what Juventus had out there? So of course you're going to press him. I mean,
Locatelli, buddy, the only one maybe when he's on. Yeah,
I mean, McKennie's a box to box power guy for me as a midfielder. He's not what's the adjective I want to describe? He's not a graceful passer, through the lines. Rabiot clearly isn't that. Juve doesn't have that. They don't have Pirlo, okay, or anything close to that in their midfield. So it's pressed them to deny getting the ball to the attackers who can be more dangerous, Chiesa and Dybala.
Yeah.
Morata as a reference up top. And then the other way that you got to situate your press when you're going to do this against Juventus is you've got to avoid anything where Bonucci can be in a position to play a long ball, because he's one of the most accurate long passers, from out of the back.
Yeah.
And so it was very sensible for Atalanta to play this pressing style and say, hey, the best way to make Dybala and Chiesa non-factors here in this first half is to make sure they don't even see the ball to begin with. And that's what they went for.
And the times that there was a breakdown, they found a way to stop him, like the play that went over the top, over Toloi, and Toloi ended up catching up Chiesa and was able to stop him. So yeah, it's like they made sure that they snuffed out all the difficult plays, and when a play broke, they were there still, and they were able to capitalize and shut them down. So Musso really wasn't threatened in that first half, and going to halftime down 1-0 if you're Juventus, and then coming out of the second half, really you'd imagine, and the statistics show it, that Juventus had more of the ball because they're trying to get back into this game, and Atalanta, they had their opportunities still, and Malinowski had a chance. There was a shout for a penalty. I don't think they reviewed it. And I don't think it was a penalty, but there was a shout for it late in the game. But Juventus had really no answers, and Atalanta were content to let them. Hey, you can have the ball. See if you can figure it out, because you can't.
They out Juve'd Juve.
Yeah, which is not Atalanta-like, but they've shown they can do that.
Would you ever say this about Atalanta under Gasperini, that this is, what do they do when they score, when they play just about anybody else, when they score a goal? What are they doing? They're going and looking for a second goal.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they're going looking for a third and a fourth.
I will argue that we have seen this last year with Gasperini. So the year before, they did very well in the Champions League, and they were trying to make a way to make Atalanta more well-rounded as a team, not just a goal team. And they had those couple times, especially during the second half of the season last year, where they would sit back and they would just win 1-0 or 2-0, and you're like, what are they doing? They're trying different things. It's not their MO, obviously. Their MO is goal, 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 goal. But they had a team here, a wounded team in Juventus, where they're like, we don't really need a goal. We can probably just win with 1-0 and just play defensively and set up shop. And it's very rare we see Atalanta do this, but they beat Juventus in their own game, beat Allegri in his own game, and they come out winners 1-0. A good win with those bright orange jerseys. I don't know if I like them or not yet, but if they want to mimic Barcelona, I guess that's the way to go.
Anthony makes a great point. Dybala had a great free kick.
He did
toward the end of the game. Musso was beaten. Atalanta needed to win like this.
Yeah.
Because they needed to be able to know that they can win like this. So it serves them extremely well. Yeah, I mean, to the point, Gasperini will resort to these kind of tactics. I remember a couple of years ago in the quarters against PSG, he tried it and almost got out of there. PSG ultimately went on to the final. But, so this was a game management approach by Atalanta. It's one that you rarely see. Usually they get a goal, they smell blood, and they're, before the night is over, they've got 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But I think this also serves them well when they're trying to look at critical games coming up. Atalanta, I'm talking about, when they go to the Maradona on Saturday, as we talked about.
Yeah.
Their final Champions League game, which is at home against Villarreal that they have to win. I believe they have to win to qualify, right?
I think you're right.
Roma, they may try to do that too. Inter on January 16th, just kind of taking that they know that they can win like that because it's probably the one thing that's consistently missing from Gasparini's Atalanta through the years. Win in a multitude of ways. Don't just win one way. Find ways to scrape wins like this. These are the kind of wins that you build a title-winning campaign on, and they're right in this.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Sitting in fourth. I mean, they're only 7. We've only played 14 games. 7 points is not too hard to overcome.
No.
We're used to them being in 9th or 10th around this time while they're in the Champions League, and then they make their charge. Now they're in fourth. They're managing the competition on both fronts. They're getting, the experience of playing in both competitions at the same time.
Yep.
Is finally kicking in. So Atalanta had to win this way. They had to figure out how to win in a game like this in the style with which they won it. To diversify ways that they can beat opponents.
Because they're going to play teams that have more possession than like Napoli. So you're going to have to know to play both ways.
Right. So, and they were, it was masterful. I mean, Musa wasn't troubled.
No.
I think the two that were shot at him, the only trouble was the Dybala free kick. Juve got 15 shots off, but when you look at where they shot from, it's just like, if you get this on frame, a good goalkeeper like Musa sees this coming, he'll save it.
Yeah.
So very much I admire what I saw from Atalanta. Juve we already kind of beat to death. They got to freshen it up and they got to change some things tactically. Allegri can't keep forcing the same set of lineups and the square peg and round hole thing we were talking about. That's they're going to have to freshen it up if they expect to be a top 4 team by the end of the season.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. So it's we'll see what these two teams do, especially with Atalanta coming up here with Napoli on the horizon and Champions League as well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting both these teams. I don't imagine either of these teams being content where they're at. Obviously, Atalanta want to push to the top, and then Juventus want to get back some of that swagger that they've lost this year.
Yep. Agreed. So that was the Juve-Atalanta game. Prior to that, we talked about Napoli-Lazio. Let's get on to the rest of it. We have 8 other games, so we'll just kind of cut this in half. I'll start with Cagliari and Salernitana, Richard. This happened on Friday. Cagliari playing with the kind of style and performance that we would expect from a team this talented, but of course, they were playing the team that was bottom of the table, so we do have to kind of take this with a grain of salt. It is a 1-1 draw, a near post, tidy little finish there by Leonardo Pavoletti on an assist from João Pedro in the 73rd minute. This was after many chances in this game for Cagliari, finally breaking through in the 73rd minute, but it would be all for naught in the 90th minute. Federico Bonazzoli comes in and finishes. I think it's bad goalkeeping from Alessio Cragno, truthfully.
It was.
But Bonazzoli does get the goal, rescues the point. Cagliari is going to look at this as 2 points dropped. But Salernitana rescues a point as they're desperate for points themselves, sitting at the bottom of the table. Tuscan derby to open things up on Saturday morning. Saturday morning for us. So Empoli and Fiorentina. And this was a great game. 33 shots combined between both teams. It was 0-0 at halftime, despite all of those chances. But in the 57th minute, Dusan Vlahovic, nice little ball slid across from Jose Callejon, and Vlahovic sliding across himself to finish it to put Fiorentina up by a 0-0. But as the game wore on, Empoli were pressing for chances and would finally level the score in the 87th minute. Filippo Bandinelli on an assist. Lamantia actually getting credit with the assist. And then finally, 2 minutes later, Andrea Pinamonti giving Empoli a big 3 points and beating their bigger Tuscan neighbors by 2-1. Empoli in 11th on 19 points, 2 points out of 2 points out of 6. What a job being done there by Andrea Azzurri over there at Empoli. And I'll tell you what, my boy Bajrami, he was crucial on both of those goals for Empoli.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Came on as a sub, and if he can continue to have that kind of influence going forward, sky's the limit. And the other thing, and we'll talk about Empoli here a little bit more once we wrap these up, the defending is getting slightly better. I know it's not where it needs to be to survive, but it is getting better. Talking about teams that are desperate for 3 points, it was Sampdoria was one of those teams taking on a Hellas Verona side that has been bothering everybody under Igor Tudor. And they would start by bothering Sampdoria in the 37th minute. A goal by Adrian Temese that actually went through the legs of Maya Yoshida. My interesting side story here. Maya Yoshida didn't start the game. He came on in the 35th minute for Alex Ferrari, who got hurt. And then in the 37th minute, the ball goes through his legs on Temese's chance. I think it hits like the inside of one of his legs, and then Karam's. Was that his? And I think
it was him. He whiffed on the shot and hit his opposite leg. So he went for the kick to clear it, missed it, and hit his opposite leg and bounced in. And
I think that was his first touch of the game.
It probably was.
He has been a nightmare this year. He really has. He is continuing to. I think he's almost cemented a place in crap on a cracker. To be honest, but we'll find out here in a few weeks' time. 51st minute. Finally, Sampdoria get it turned up. Great goal here. Probably going to end up in the honorable mentions. Antonio Candreva in the 51st minute. And it is just because of the chest pass by Caputo that steered it in the direction of Candreva to make it 1-1. 77th minute, Antonio Candreva back to doing what he does best, serving balls in on a dead ball situation this time. Albin Ekdal making it 2-1, and then Nicola Muru putting it away in the 90th minute. A much, much needed 3 points for Sampdoria. And then Saturday wrapped up, Richard, with Inter playing a bunch of training cones, as it would turn out. 27-6 on the shots for Inter, 12 on target. That means Sergio Romero made 10 saves. Sergio Romero in defeat should be in the Serie A team of the week, just for that, because this was a rampage by Inter. Hakan Çalhanoğlu in the 34th minute, another goal of the week candidate there, striking from distance to put Inter ahead by 1-0. But that would be it for the goals until the 96th minute, where Lautaro would make a penalty. Those were mine out of the remainder of the games. Richard, where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with that game where you just mentioned there. Really, Venezia, they had like a moment early on the game where they looked good. And then after that, Aramo, I think, was pretty good early on in the game. But then it was all Inter after that. Yeah. And what it was really is that Inter failing to capitalize on their opportunities once again. They could have scored so many goals in this game. Obviously, Romero played fantastic, but you still got to put these goals away. And the fact that they only had a 1-0 lead until late in the game, at times they score goals in bunches, and other times they're like, how are you missing all these opportunities? And credit to them that it's not always like this, but they have so many opportunities. And the thing with Inter is when they get to a situation, whether it's a Champions League or a big, Serie A game, and you need those goals, you don't know if they're going to be there or not. Because it's a Jekyll and Hyde with this team. They're always going to have that pressure offensively. Can they be clinical? That's the question with them. But they got the win. One goal would have done in this one here, as you mentioned, a bunch of training cones. Moving on to Hellas and Sampdoria, I was kind of surprised there with Hellas. They came out they started very well in this game, but then Sampdoria kind of woke up in the second half and really took it to Hellas. And Hellas usually are very composed offensively, and Sampdoria were able to break them open, and it was very un-Tudor-like. And full credit goes to Diversa for changing it up at halftime and making some of the moves they did. But that's a perplexing result for me. Big 3 points for Sampdoria, no doubt about it, because they needed those 3 points. But it was more head-scratching for me by Hellas compared to what we've seen this season. But again, it could have just been a trap game, or could have been they were overlooking this game. And if you do, Sampdoria made you pay, obviously. And then the game I really want to talk about is the Tuscan Derby. Fantastic game, like you mentioned. Yeah. Went back and forth. Both teams had opportunities. Vlahovic was all over the place. He now leads the league in goals with 12, overtaking Ciro Immobile. He was good. I mean, that goal that he scored, he started the play, passed it over to Callejon. He kept the run. You love seeing that. We saw that from Messias with Milan in the Champions League. You start the passing, you continue the run, and they find the ball back to you. Great goal there. And then Empoli has kept attacking. This we love to see Empoli because they attack. And now, like you mentioned, they're starting to figure out how to play defense as well. And Andrea Azzurri should get full credit for the way this team is 19 points at this stage of the season. It's tremendous for the new club. And you love to see derbies. Derbies should be like this, right? It should be head to head, back and forth. Too often when we have some of these derbies, like, of this ilk, it'd be one sided, right? And this game was not that at all. It was fun to the last minute, and then, like you said, 2 goals basically in a minute's time. Marami was fantastic. He was pivotal on both those goals. Just a great game overall. The goalkeeper for Empoli had some big saves in this game as well. On Saparana had a great opportunity in the first half, and it got denied by him. But great game overall. I love that game.
Yeah, Bonaventura had a couple of nice chances.
Yeah.
It was definitely an entertaining game. And that's what you want to see out of derbies. So, and then, to see a smaller team from the region, beating a bigger team, there's good stories to that. So, the Samp Hellas Verona game was even more interesting. In particular, you touched on a lot of points. Samp countered. I mean, Samp was much more efficient with the ball than Hellas Verona was. Which you normally don't see Hellas Verona allowing that kind of efficiency. Where they're able to defend, they're able to be in position and do things like that. So, I like that point. Inter, there's nothing else that needs to be said. I mean, Venezia showed up. They played to avoid getting embarrassed, and took their 0 and moved on. So, but again, Inter, if you're a good team, you take advantage of those situations and you get your 3 points. So,
Anthony brings up a good point about Vlahovic continuing to show that he deserves a big chance. And we talked about this last year. Like, the question last year was, should Vlahovic leave Fiorentina after last season, or should he stay another year? And we kept saying he should stay, grow more into this team, and really get comfortable and grow into that frame. And he has this year. He's starting to really evolve. So good on him. Another
one where we look good. So everyone's like, yeah, he should. No, 1 more year. Let him show that he can boss things. Let him build on what he did, which he's clearly doing. And then, at some point, then now I think after this season, he can definitely test the waters, and Fiorentina is going to cash in big time, and that is their one asset right now. I mean, Milankovic is also another guy you can talk about. In terms of what they've got available to them as far as who they can cash in, take that money, reinvest, get more players, to further shore up the club. So.
And there's always that risk, too, because we saw with Belotti as well when he had that huge year, and everyone's like, oh, he should go. And Cairo's like, no, I'm going to hold on to him. And we saw the opposite, right? He stayed in Torino. He didn't really have the help. And his game has been declining ever since. And so you never know if a player stays. But Vlahovic has certainly paid off and is growing more and more into this role. He's looking like the main target guy now. Last year, he just had good goals. Now he's like, play goes through him. He can shield the ball very well. Last year, he wasn't good at shielding. He's very good at it now. He's becoming an all-around striker now, which is excellent to see.
Yep. Agreed. I think he's rounding out his game really well. And I think that he's, wherever he goes after this, I mean, it's hopefully he stays in Serie A with somebody, but
I agree.
We'll see what happens. So, all right. Why don't you take us through the rest of Sunday's games?
All right. Starting it off, Udinese, Genoa, 0-0. That's all I'm going to say there. No, this game wasn't that entertaining, honestly, but, there were some glimpses of moments. Beto, again. Beto is a player I'm fancying. I know you're high on him as well. He can do things, and he didn't get a goal in this one, but he's certainly active all game long from beginning to the end. Both keepers have made some saves, but really it was 0-0. Not much action in this one. All the action seemed to be in the next game. I'm going to talk about Milan hosting Sassuolo. Sassuolo wins 3-1 on the road. Goal scoring started in the 21st minute. Romagnoli off a nice set play, off a corner kick near post, got it past the keeper. That'd be the last good comments we make about Romagnoli in this one, because 24th minute there would be a turnover. Scamacca with goal of the week candidate. I'm going to say it's my goal of the week right now. A bomb from distance that hit the top post and in. What a great strike by Scamacca. Just a few minutes later, turnover in the box. Ball bounces around, goes right to Scamacca. Scamacca scores. They're going to call it an own goal by Chiar, but that was all Scamacca there. 2-0 there. And it would be that score, or 2-1 going into halftime, coming out of the break. Berardi completely destroys Romagnoli 1-1 and scores a nice goal of the week candidate there. 3-1 Milan 6s and 7s all the way around. Sassuolo proving that they are a bogey team for the Milanese clubs. This time seemed to be Milan. Sometimes it's more so Inter lately, but Sassuolo, keep an eye out for them. Do not take them lightly. Moving on, Spezia hosting Bologna. This game is actually going back and forth a lot. Bologna missing a lot of opportunities. Musabero hit 2 posts in this game. But we finally would get a goal late in the game, the 83rd minute. A penalty was called, and Arnautovic would step up, take the shot, score. Bologna win 1-0. Not the result they want, not the score line they wanted, but they got the victory. That's what's the most important for them. And you saw a big embrace between Arnautovic and Sinisa Mihalovic after the game, or after the goal, I should say. Moving on, Roma hosting Torino, and in this game was an interesting game. It was going to be a tight game that I expected. Part of me thought maybe Roma would have blown away with this game, but they've been struggling as of late. But to their credit, they did some really good things in this game. A lot of it going through Mkhitaryan and Zaniolo. Good to see Zaniolo, injury free, and he just so silky smooth with the ball. But we would get a goal in the 32nd minute through some nice play. I believe it's through Mkhitaryan that found Tammy Abraham with the goal. That'd be the lone goal of the game, but there was a lot of action going on. There was a penalty call that they thought they had. Roma did. El Shaarawy was taken down in the box, but they went to VAR, and Tammy Abraham was offside that led up to that penalty. So the penalty didn't happen. But good game overall. I thought Torino really fought and tight there. Ivan Juric's team, this is what you expect them to be a tough game, make it difficult for their opponents. And Roma did what they had to do to get the victory, and so they won 1-0. They get all 3 points. Yeah, so where do you want to start with these games?
Roma shithoused this game.
Yeah.
I mean,
was it their fault or was it the opponent's fault?
Nice goal by Abraham. But I think, sometimes Mourinho sets his teams up this way.
Yeah.
And he's got the quality going the other way. So, they get the goal, and when you look at the lineup, it's purely a counterattacking setup. When you take a look at Zaniolo and Abraham as his 2 strikers, you got El Shaarawy coming kind of from a withdrawn role. Mkhitaryan loves coming through the middle on the break, where he can facilitate, make a pass to a forward, and then follow at the top of the box. So you're seeing some things characteristically there. But yeah, certainly Torino had more of the ball. They had 3 chances on target that Patricio saved. Patricio was really good in this game. And I thought the back 3 for Roma all played well. Mancini, Smalling, and Ibanez. To try to keep anything dangerous from happening here with this Torino team. You got to be wary of the threat with what Torino can do going forward with this squad. For Andrea Belotti, this has been a bad week for injuries too. Belotti got hurt. Chiesa got hurt.
Yeah.
We should point those injuries out.
Magno's back from injury from Milan.
Yep. So we're with what they can do going forward, Pryatt and Brecalo are good technicians, and can sit in those half spaces and cause you some trouble. And Belotti, okay, fine, he's been struggling, but you still have to. I wouldn't give him space right now.
Sanabria looked pretty good when he came on for Belotti as well. I thought.
Agreed.
Late, but
agreed. And you got Sanabria to go to. Singo's an interesting guy for me. I like his game. I like the way he plays.
Me too.
So on the Roma side, I thought they set up really well. They carried out the way they wanted to do it and get a win. Bologna with a rare clean sheet, against the Spezia team that certainly was putting them under the pressure.
Yeah.
teams are conceding a lot of goals this year. I mean, the only teams that are 1 goal a game or less, there's only 2 teams, Torino and Napoli. And Napoli's astonishing. They've played 14. They've only conceded 7.
Yeah, they've been very good.
Yeah, Torino's 1 goal a game on the button. After that, everybody else is conceding more than 1 per game. So in some shape, form, or fashion, tells you the attacking quality that's on offer in this league. But anyway, a rare clean sheet for Bologna, a team that has been struggling. So you tip your cap there to Skorupski. He was very good. Made some key saves in this game. Bologna getting the penalty there, throwing Arnautovic. But we saw, quality from Bologna going forward. Orsolini, Soriano, Barrow,
Marin,
and then Arnautovic, and then Svanberg.
Yeah,
coming through the midfield looks useful too. So there's a lot to worry about when you play Bologna when they come forward. But defensively, I think they still can be had. And then the Milan game. I mean, Milan were excellent for 25 minutes. And looked like they were going to cruise. And then the Bakayoko mistake. I mean, that was just. What are you doing? You're not even looking at where you're passing. You're just making a pass, and it's stepped in and it's intercepted. Scamacca, brilliant finish.
No one's going to stop that shot.
The thing that was frustrating for me as a Milan fan is that the team reacted poorly for the rest of the match.
Yeah.
They were getting their momentum going. They were creating. They were doing some positive things. There was some timing stuff with offsides, but I thought for the first 25 minutes, Milan controlled the game superbly. Sassuolo got off a couple of chances going the other way. Yeah. But that one mistake, the whole game flipped on its head. And it was just astonishing for a team of professionals to allow that to happen. You see that with kids, where something like that can get your team down, but you don't often see that, with professionals. It's like, hey, we can pick back up and do this again, but it just never happened.
Too, and then it imploded. So,
I think it was a poor selection by Pioli. I mean, but I understand a lot of the players went through a very demanding game in Madrid, to win, to try to stay alive, and this is the perils of, because we got to this point to match day 5 and said, and Milan Twitter were wondering, do we still try to go for this and still try to qualify, or do we just punt it? Well, this might be the consequence of punting it, is because so many players put so much into that game that now they're coming home to play Sassuolo, and
natural letdown.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, it wasn't really a letdown because the first 25 minutes they played great. Yeah. The Bakayoko mistake started it, but then when you looked at it after that, Milan could not get through the midfield. They could not play through the midfield. It was such a struggle. You normally expect Benacer to be better. He struggled today. Yeah. This game was screaming for Tonali where he should have played from the start. And I get it. He played a lot in that Madrid game. He ran a lot, gave a lot in that Madrid game, and has overall been playing a lot lately for Milan. And you want to try to find some spot where you can rest him. And right now in a period where your guys are playing every 3 days, you got to rotate a little bit. I mean, Napoli rotated. They played Lobotka. That worked. I mean, some teams rotated, did perfectly fine. Other teams rotated and they struggled. And I don't think it's a depth deficiency with Milan. I just think it's a underperformance issue from Bakayoko. I thought Leao was greedy without anything productive at the end of it. Mm-hmm. And I'll say it, Zlatan has to work on. Zlatan has timing problems right now. Yeah, we're staying on side is suddenly become a problem for him. And then, Romagnoli, my gosh, I mean, I'm embarrassed for him.
He's not good 1 against 1.
Yeah. between getting pantsed by Berardi and then the foul that got him sent off. It was just a disaster. So
it was. So there's a few things for me in this game. Obviously, getting your goalkeeper back, maybe it was a letdown defensively where they're like, okay, we can play a bit easier because we got our goalkeeper back. Well, you got guys like Scamacca shooting from distance with that shot. No one's going to stop that, right? Two, I think it was partially a letdown because you had such a great game against Atleti. It was almost natural that it was going to have a trap game, even if they knew this was going to be a good tough game. Sassuolo is always a bogey team. So you're naturally going to play a little bit less, and you're probably going to be tired. The guys who played the other game are going to be tired, Brahim Diaz and some of these other guys. And then three, like Anthony mentioned, you get mistakes in the game, and Sassuolo made you pay for it. They were clinical. No Tomori back there. He probably would have cleaned up a lot of the mess that we had there. Maybe not so much the Bakayoko one, but, the Berardi situation, he probably would have snuffed that out. And probably would have helped with the second Scamacca goal as well. So, a lot of different pieces there who are not used to playing with each other. Guys, they all let down mentally. I mean, every single player on that pitch after that first goal that Bakayoko gave up, the Scamacca scored from distance. It was a letdown after that. Every single person. On the Berardi goal, you're watching Theo Hernandez just watch Romagnoli getting ready to break his ankles, and he's just watching him. He's not helping out at all. It's like, what are you doing in there? And
there's no cover.
There's no cover. And probably the only person you really can't fault too much is probably Magnon on his first game back. Like I said,
I don't think he can't do anything about any of those goals.
No.
So
too much space is given, and Sassuolo looked like the Zerbi team that we're used to seeing from the past, where they would have lots of possession in the midfield and do things with it. They played very well. Sassuolo should be given full credit. Yes, Milan were at fault for a lot of this and inflicted pain on themselves, but I think Sassuolo had the right game plan. They went down a goal and didn't give up. Most teams would go down to Milan or any big club and then just fold. They didn't. They kept going at it. When they got that goal by Scamacca, they were just ignited and they kept playing for the rest of the game, and they deserved the win.
Yep. Goals of the week.
Let me turn my mic back on. Let me find my goals of the week list. All right, so number 5 for me, I'm going to go with Bonazzoli getting the tying goal for Salernitana late in the game. Number 4, I do like the Candreva goal. The Caputo assist off the chest was just a beautiful thing to see there. What a goal. So that's number 4 for me. Number 3 are the ankle breaking of Romagnoli, the Berardi goal. What a goal this by Berardi, and clinched the game. Number 2, Mertens' first goal. The dancing around the defense there was just a freaking thing of beauty. He put it away nicely. And then Scamacca, his first goal, had this a beautiful rocket there that absolutely goal of the week for me. How about you?
Okay. My goals of the week are consolidated to just 2 games. I'm going to go with Mertens' second goal against Lazio in at number 5 for that finish. Number 4, I'm going with Berardi, putting Romagnoli into the ground. I think there's weeks where that's a number 1. There's 3 goals that are like, I thought Mertens dancing around 2 or 3 guys was much more impressive. So that was number 3 for me. And then I'm going with Fabian's goal at number 2. Beautiful curler. Just absolutely no chance for Reina. And then I'm with you. Scamacca hit the goal of the week for me. I was really, really close to putting Ruiz over it. But Scamacca edges out Ruiz because of the significance of what that goal kickstarted for Sassuolo. Ruiz was kind of a icing on the cake goal. So
Scamacca was power and pace from distance, and it hit the post and went in. This is beauty. Think of beauty. It's like, Magnon didn't even move. He's just like, I got nothing.
Yep, can't do it. No. Reminded me of who was it? Figo for Portugal against England in Euro 2000. Very similar goal from a long range, and the goalkeeper, and I think it was Seaman at the time. Yeah, just
Roberto Carlos was known for that as well.
Yep, stood and watched it.
Seedorf as well. Seedorf when he was Real Madrid scored one from distance, ridiculous like that. So,
yeah, those are fun. Those are fun to see when they turn up.
Yeah.
Not so much when it happens to your own team, but what can you say? So, midweek Tuesday, there's midweek games, guys. So check your local listings. But Tuesday's games are Atalanta Venezia, Fiorentina hosting Sampdoria, Hellas Verona hosting Cagliari, Salernitana hosting Juventus. On Wednesday, December 1st, Bologna hosts Roma, Inter hosts Spezia, Genoa hosts Milan, Sassuolo hosts Napoli. Big game there. And then finally on Thursday, Torino hosting Empoli, Lazio hosting Udinese. Richard, we talked about the Sassuolo Napoli game. That's the key one there. Any of the other ones getting your attention?
I mean, obviously that is the main game that I want to pay attention to. But for me, no, not really. I mean, the games are intriguing. Like Bologna Roma could be very intriguing for me, especially Bologna turns up. Empoli could surprise Torino, as we saw the performance of Empoli this past week, and then Fiorentina Sampdoria. You know, both those teams play to their potential. That'd be a good game. Cagliari Hellas, I expect Hellas to shut the door down, but watch Cagliari get some victory in the road there. So, but yeah, there's a few games that are interesting to me, but I think Sassuolo Napoli is a game I'm going to tune into for sure.
Can't believe you're leaving out Milan traveling to Genoa to go see Mr. Shevchenko.
I fully that's beautiful. I want to watch Shevchenko, but I fully expect Milan to be a shithousery type of game against Genoa. It's going to be some 0-0, 1-0 game. I fully expect that. We're not going to see goals in that game, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still waiting. I don't think we have enough to figure out what Genoa is going to be under Andrei Shevchenko, and I don't think that Shevchenko has what he wants in-house yet. So, so it'll be interesting to see how that game goes. And I'm with you. The Fiorentina-Sampdoria game, if they both can live up to it, Fiorentina can be leaky defensively. Sampdoria certainly have enough in attack to give them some problems. There can be some goals in that game. I actually like Hellas Verona to bounce back and beat Cagliari. But Cagliari there is something. I think it's to a point where the confidence is just shot. So, but other than that, Sassuolo Napoli for me is the marquee game, and should be pretty interesting. How does Lazio react against an Udinese team that has given people fits this season? So,
yeah, that could be very tight.
Yeah, so that's another one. So, all right, so we have burned through match week 14. Now we will move on to the world's most famous hashtag game. Who won Calcio Twitter? Richard, lead us off.
All right. So this one was nominated to us by Yanimal, and it's Domenico De Fazio. So the original tweet was Alessandro is saying that Darmian is being a big brute against Insigne playing keep away with the ball. And Domenico says, someone has to edit this and where the ball is a Scudetto and Inter keep away from Napoli. I like that.
Big De Faz is in the clubhouse. Okay. Yep. Uncle Sharma checks in. My guy froze. He hasn't moved since 2018. That pained expression on Allegri's face.
Poor Allegri. All right, Don Totti is in the house. Says, Juve traveled to London for nothing. There's a key word there. 4-0 loss there to Chelsea.
All right. Moving on. There is our reaction to last week's win.
Matt Santangelo is the next one.
Matt Santangelo is the next one. All right. The original one is that Eric Alper, 107-year-old mom gives her 84-year-old daughter candy. It's Matt Santangelo saying Ibra giving Giroud a piece of chocolate.
Oh, very nicely done. So I gave that same video. I gave Darmian actually a Who Won Calcio Twitter nominee because he's just messing with Insigne. But It is a funny video. Overall.
So that gets a double nominee.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. At FC Spartak Moscow, at FC SM _English. Napoli looking for some revenge today against Spartak Moscow. That was the IFTV, and then FC Spartak Moscow caught it and said, "Use this mask instead."
Nicely done by Spartak. Yeah. They were full voice. They kept doing it over and over again. Spartak actually came in and said 2 emojis to describe this: cool and then clown. So obviously the clown would be Spalletti because they didn't want to shake the hands of the manager for Spartak. And he's like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
know.
I didn't see the game, so I don't know if there's anything that went on. But
yeah, I didn't either.
All right, at the Calcio guys, our friends over there at the Calcio guys, Macias at the depth for AC Milan keeps their Champions League dreams alive. Pioli showing the hand to Lionel Messi, but pointing in the direction of Junior Messias.
That's right, the right Messias, the right number 30 there. All right. All right, so this is the next great player for Cagliari from George, and the free kick is wide. Let me make it bigger so you can see. There's a free kick goal, and it's wide left.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay. Elettra Gagliardini. Pavel Nedved fleeing from Turin during the GDF search.
I was just hoping this woman is gone.
Why don't you give us a quick synopsis of what this is about for those who aren't in the loop?
Yeah. So I just did an article for World Football Index, and it was based off of the New York Times article that came out recently. It came out last week, and it came out just after something else that happened in the league, but this is bigger news. So what it was is talking about a bunch of deals we've seen over the years where we thought maybe players' prices have been inflated. We know this mostly with Juventus. We know a good example is 2019. Storaro gets sold from Juventus to Genoa for 19 million euros. You're like, he's not worth 19 million euros. Like, what the hell is this? And so a bunch of red flags started popping up. And it wasn't so much that, the Pjanic and Archer swap, yes, both the players can be swapped, but both teams made 45, 50 million euros off that deal each. And then also look at the Osimhen deal. People question whether Napoli really had the finances to afford Osimhen. But really what it was the thing that broke this whole thing was Cartes Onassis, I forget that goalkeeper's name, the Greek goalkeeper used to be in Serie A. He gets sold, plus a bunch of other players that you never heard of for like 20-something million euros. And everyone's like, wait, who the hell are these players and why are they getting sold so much? So they started investigating this, and at least this is all across Europe. But in terms of Serie A, they started looking at Juventus, Napoli, Chievo Verona, and a bunch of other clubs as well about transfers they made in the last 2 years in particular that the prices have been way inflated. And then for Juventus in particular, this could be very damning if, it comes out that this is true and they find out concrete evidence is that Juventus is a publicly traded company, and the way they're inflating these prices incorrectly would have a big impact potentially. I don't expect Juventus to get any kind of, maybe just a fine, but, all indications, if they're doing the research right, they're doing the investigation right now, as Juventus's officers recently raided. I think it was on Saturday or Sunday. Their officers are raided. Hence the video of Pavel Nedved fleeing the scene and jumping the building. But yeah, it's they're finally starting to crack down on these inflation prices and all these teams changing the value and trying to escape the rules. People are questioning also the Ronaldo signing from Juventus several years ago. Like, how could they afford that? So we'll see. Keep an eye on this because, if anybody gets in trouble with this, it could be a serious implication here, and Juventus probably had one of the more stringent potential complications if they get convicted. I don't expect them to be, maybe just a fine, but keep an eye on this. We never know. If Serie A and UEFA want to make a big statement, this would be the time to do it with these inflation of prices. So stay tuned, folks.
I won't hold my breath.
Yep, me neither. Me neither.
All right, perfect. All right, let's move on. I think the next one, Richard, is from Yanamo.
Yeah, so Domenico De Fazio this time nominates Yanamo, and this time it says, so it says, I saw this ending message differently. It says, Junior Messias in the making for AC Milan, and it's a guy unloading a refrigerator by himself, and this is quite impressive, actually. I didn't see that ending that way either. He just, takes it off the truck by himself.
Well,
pretty good.
What a story Junior Messias is, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really impressive. Okay, so at 7 a.m. kickoff, the final whistle blows and Atalanta win 1-0. Juventus manager and players angry about the refereeing, and I'm pretty sure they're shouting at the officials, "We bought you once, we can do it again." Okay.
Oh, man. All right, let's see. Don Totti. Massacred by Chelsea in Champions League, check. Investigation launched into major financial fraud at the club, check. First loss at home to Atalanta in 30 years, check. Tripletta alla Juventus.
All righty, next one. All right. At Tottenham Hotspur, the boss has his say. And Antonio Conte, I think in these conditions, it's not football. I want to play football. I want to have fun and play and give emotion. I think in this situation, it's impossible, and there's a serious risk for the players to take injury, and this is not good. This is the Burnley-Tottenham match being postponed. And Will_Unwin, has Conte released a Christmas album?
It looks like a cover for a Christmas album.
Doesn't it?
Oh, that's good.
Can the host of the show win who won Calcio Twitter? What have you done now?
So I tweeted out after the Berardi goal. I said, "Someone please check on Capitano. He picked up a serious ankle injury against Berardi. Pieces of his ankle are all over the penalty box. Ref needs to give Berardi a pray for Romagnoli."
I like that. But you can't win.
I can't win.
So. But Uncle Sharma can. Napoli versus Lazio. Don't need to explain who is who.
Face down, that's Lazio, and that's Verdi with the goal. That's Napoli. That's funny.
Oh, Nima.
Oh, Nima. This is Nima says Lazio's defense so hard tonight.
Woo!
We'll let the pictures do all the talking here.
Okay, then.
Oh my.
All right. At Toti Mitico, when in the VAR room, they find the frame to give Roma offside. I like that.
Oh, that was a late entry there. So, who you got? Chat, who do you got? I wonder if Chris is in the house.
Hey, is Chris with us still? Chris has got to pick a winner. Otherwise, I'm going with Elettra Gagliardini.
Which one is that? Oh yeah. That's a good one for me too.
Yeah, at Mate DJ 23.
I think the hair does it too to make it look like Nedved.
Yep, that's the winner.
Yeah.
And do you see they got a thread because he got retweeted 600 times, and he was kind of surprised by it. I think.
Yeah.
Was going to get retweeted 601. Congrats, Mate DJ 23. So Elettra Gagliardini is this week's winner of Who Won Calcio Twitter.
Oh, that's good. While you do that, I'm going to do my shameless plug. First, like I mentioned, I just did an article based on the New York Times article for World Football Index about the investigation into deflation of transfer sales and all that stuff. So definitely give that a plug or give it a look. And also just released a video on our YouTube page by Junior Messias doing a kind of quick player profile off of his goal that he scored in the Champions League. And many wondered after that goal, is he the savior of Milan? And so I talk about that and give my answer whether he is or not. So definitely give that a check out. Let's see if I have even a picture of it here so you can see what I'm talking about here. There it was. Oh, there it is. There you go. So that's what the thumbnail looks like. So look for that on our YouTube page for Mr. Messias. All right. Yep. And you can obviously follow me with my handle right there. So.
Yep. As we put a bow on this edition of Serie Sit Down, you can find me at FTC_21. Right there. You keep switching the handle on me.
Keeping you honest.
Somebody's got to. Serie Sit Down, we have our own channel on Apple Podcasts and SoundCloud. We're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, wherever there is podcasts, there is Serie Sit Down. Go to @Serie Sit Down on Twitter. Give us a follow there. Go to @Serie Sit Down on Instagram. Give us a follow there. Like us on Facebook. Also, subscribe to this channel. Click the notification bell so that you can be notified whenever we drop new content or start recording another podcast. Also, like this video. It helps us out a lot if you enjoyed what you watched here. That's it. We got midweek Calcio.
Yeah.
So I don't expect anybody to get any work done this week.
No. Or this month.
Yeah, a lot of games. So it's hard to get a lot of work done in the month of December as it is. So, but anyway, hope you enjoyed it for Serie Sit Down, a podcast of World Football Index. That was Richard. I'm Frank. And as always, make sure you tell your paisans about us. Ciao.